Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time from Phil. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the 1984 film Supergirl. Now, I did watch this a couple times when I was a kid. It's been a while since I've seen the film. And I will say this. Helen Slater and Jerry Goldsmith are easily the best parts of this film. This movie should kiss at both of their feet. Rest in peace, Jerry Goldsmith. Because they're definitely what keep this film not be a total failure. Just I will admit, I mean, there is a charm to it. I did not hate watching the film again. I did have fun watching it, but I do not think it's a good movie. I don't. Helen Slater is a beautiful lady, and she really does sell the sincerity of this character, the innocence of this character. I think she sells that very well. Jerry Goldsmith did the best he can, and he's my favorite composer. The first three Rambo films, and Leviathan, and Total Recall, and just a fantastic composer. And he does another bang-up job here that really gets you riveted. Ba da 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 ba da 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 da. Now, it was directed by the guy who did Jaws 2, and the Salkinds produced it. Now, the reason they got this film going is because Superman 3 came out. I love Superman 3. It is very campy. It's very comedic. But I can't help it. I like Christopher Reeve. I like the evil Superman subplot. And him being a troll and a dick. Fixing the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The guy breaks all his stuff. Then when he makes new stuff, Superman fixes it. And he breaks all the stuff again. I love Richard Pryor in it. I love the evil supercomputer, which is actually kind of creepy when I saw it as a kid. Chalked up to the big, massive state of nostalgia, but I still enjoy Superman 3. Even the weird stuff with, like, when everything's going haywire and, like, the lights, the walk lights start fighting each other. I don't know how that happens, but it was a fun visual gag. I highly enjoy that film, as campy as it is. But everybody hated that film. It did okay at the box office, but not nearly as much as the first two. I think Richard Pryor was embarrassed by the film. Christopher Reeve hated the film. I think that's why for the longest time he didn't do a Superman movie until Superman 4, which he had a bit of control with the script, at least a little bit, as well as we're also going to make this other film called Street Smart. We'll let you make that, get that film made, and you get to star in it, which garnered Morgan Freeman, well, I think an Oscar nomination for that role. I think. I could be wrong, or did he win? I can't. I think nomination, at least. I can't remember. Anyway. So Superman 3 didn't do that well, so maybe the well has gone a bit dry, but we own Superman as an entity, so let's do Supergirl. Now, the film cost $35 million, which is quite a bit of money, but the movie only made $14 million when it came out. And Warner Brothers had no hopes for this because Warner Brothers did not release the film. TriStar did. That means they looked at the film, they said nah, and they sold it to TriStar and go, you release this. So they sold it to TriStar. Now the setup I don't mind. We're in Argo City. We're not in outer space. We're in inner space. Fun enough, another movie Jerry Goldsmith did music for. After this cool looking opening Now, granted, I think that cost like $1 million. I don't think you needed to have that cost $1 million. I mean, it looks neat, but I mean, I would still put the Superman the movie titles ahead of it because they have these physical things, but it's going towards camera. But at the same time, it's like going under the camera. So it's like we see it, but then it's got to go under here. And then we see another thing, but it's going under here. I just because I'm so used to Superman titles were in the middle and going towards the audience. I'm so used to that that for some weird thing in my brain it threw me off that it was going under the camera. At least most of the time. Once in a while, it's like let's fade out so it doesn't hit the camera, but a lot of times it's kind of going under. Maybe for that reason. But was it worth $1 million? I don't know. Probably not. But it looked neat. I think Jerry Goldsmith's music really helped that. But anyway, in Argo City, the Kryptonians, there are some that survived. And in this inner space, we have Argo City. We have, I guess, really Superman's cousin, played by Helen Slater. And her parents are there. We don't get a lot of what the life is like there. We just get a bit of Peter O'Toole, who's kind of a mentor to Helen Slater. He's got this wand. They do a bit of magic. He also took the power source, the Omega Hedron, which you think that if it was that, okay, if this Omega Hedron is that important and that powerful, that without it your entire city is fucked. You think it'd be under like better security, or once it was taken out, red alert, red alert, red alert, but no. Not only that, they do look like cheap toys, like the wand and Omega Head. They do look like cheap toys. For a $35 million budget, you kind of expect a little bit more to these. Like the wands looks like something you buy at like Toys R Us. That thing looks like it just, you tell, just rolls. I tell you, they do look like cheap toys. So we get a little bit of Helen Slater, and she wants to learn a bit about the magic stuff. She's curious about Earth and her cousin. Now, how they know about any of this, I don't know. Meaning, how does she know she have a cousin? Do you have TV there that watches Earth? Like, how does she know she has a cousin at all? How does she know he's alive? How does she know he's on Earth? Maybe we assume Peter O'Toole went there and came back and forth, perhaps. But at the same time, it seems like they have this one device that has been used before, and he's going to retire, and maybe retire to Earth or somewhere else. So it's like he hasn't been there before. So again, how does anyone know what's happening on Earth? Maybe they rented the Superman movies. They rented the VHS tapes and they watched them. It's never really made clear how they know. Like, if they had some kind of device that they could see Earth, know about it, maybe, you know. But that's the thing, we don't get a whole lot of Argo City. Argo City as a society as anything. And so Peter O'Toole, people come up to him. The thing that's the most important thing in this whole damn city, he puts it on the ground and he kicks it. He literally kicks it behind him. Not to anybody. He doesn't even know anybody's behind him. Now, granted, he's lucky Helen Slater picks it up, but I don't think he knew anybody was behind him. He just kicks it. I'm like, what if this thing fell somewhere and broke or something? Like, why? Just put it in your pocket, dude, or whatever, man. Don't put it on the ground and kick it without looking. At least go somewhere, like, hide it somewhere. But he just put it, just, I'm like, this is like, if you had a nuclear bomb. Well, maybe that's a wrong thing. If you, I'm trying to think of like something that's so important, you wouldn't just kick it away. Your damn credit card, your wallet, your bid wad of cash, you wouldn't just Let me just kick over there and not worry about where it lands. So lo and behold, there's this bud-like creature that Helen Slater makes alive. And it goes out the dome, but are these domes... What are these domes made of? Because it goes through very easily, very quickly, so it's not made of glass. It's not made of crystals or anything. It looks like it's made of just plastic. As in literally the... How will you call it? Like made of the stuff that you use for your packages or something. You know, or I don't even know what kind of plastic would go. It looked like cheap just plastic just really ripped through. I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, that's the TPU from outer space? This cheap looking plastic? It's not even glass or anything? But finally, they're able to rescue her. He fixes it. The Omegahedron is gone. They have like 3-4 days until they die. Peter O'Toole, you get the idea. He's going to try to search for it. But I guess Helen Slater's like, it's my fault. I'm like, no, it's his fault for kicking the damn thing away and not paying attention where it landed. But she gets in the thing. She goes to Earth. Peter O'Toole is going to go into the Phantom Zone. He disappears from the film until much, much later in the film. Helen Slater is on her way there. The effects of it are okay for its time in 1984. And they do this interesting thing where, because it's inner space, she comes out of the water of this lake on Earth. And I think for the shot when she goes up, it's like a cardboard cutout. But it goes by quick enough that I didn't notice too much. And she's got her Superman suit on. Or Supergirl suit. Now again, Helen Slater does a really good job showing the innocence. She means well. She trusts people. Maybe she seems a bit naive, but on a good note, she means well. And then when she's trying to learn how to fly, you get that sense of the joy of flight. The joy of gliding. She's enjoying it. She's trying to get used to it. It's all new to her. And when you do the flying scenes, they're definitely better than what we would see in Superman 4, for example. Now, granted, by this time, I'm sure people were used to it because they saw Superman 1, Superman 2, Superman 3, in a span of, at this point, 6 or so years. So it would have seemed old hat to people. But, I mean, it's still fun to see the old school way, just like the previous 3 Superman films of flying. And then Jerry Goldsmith's music, and Helen Slater's getting the moves right, and the gliding, and there's the wire work done. Apparently Superman, we hear, is on a peacekeeping mission in a galaxy. Because they wanted Christopher Reeve, he said no. Someone, I think it was a story where she went there to save Superman, and then, or she went there to meet Superman, but then Superman loses his powers, and then it's up to Supergirl to do all the work. I don't know what the details were. But then there was also talks of a cameo, which there's a possibility, because the director of Jaws 2 also did, I think, Somewhere in Time, the one with Christopher Reeve, where he just wishes his way back in time. He thought really hard, and then he was back in time. The same director. But yeah, Christopher Reeve just said no to it all. It would have been cool to see Reeve in a cameo at least. Even like he came back and, oh, you beat me to it, or something like that. But, I mean, it is what it is. You do get a poster, and I do like her kind of, her studying it, and, oh, that's my cousin. Like I said, the stuff with Helen Slater and Jerry Goldsmith and the flying scenes, those scenes work well. To me, they're some of the better parts of the movie. Faye Dunaway, yes, she's being over the top. Yes, she's being campy. But it didn't bother me as much as other people. I thought it was campy in a fun way. She was chewing the scenery, but she looked like she was having fun doing it. I didn't mind her rapport with her subordinate, Brenda Vaccaro. I kind of liked her, not really wisecrack, but kind of I liked her demeanor, kind of down to earth demeanor when talking with Faye Dunaway's character. I think Faye Dunaway kind of took it and ran with it and had fun with the part. Even though for what I heard she was a diva queen, and even the other guy, oh, what was his name? Peter Cook had a problem with her because she was always be late and had all these issues. Just apparently they wanted Dudley Moore for that guy, but then Dudley Moore's like, no, but I worked with this guy called Peter Cook. And Peter Cook did fine, but he doesn't really have much to do in the third act of the movie. He's just a prisoner. So a lot of people have problems with Faye Dunaway and her performance. I think for this kind of movie where she's playing this hunger for power witch, and she just don't make a head run, and this is her ticket for higher bouts of power, I think it worked fine in the tone of the rest of the movie. Now, of course, because she's a girl, the first time, Superman, when he first comes in, he's fighting bad guys, he's getting crooks and thieves. But no, the first time Supergirl is gotta be two rednecks that wanna screw her brains out and assault her. I'm like, oh god. Because if this was done today, it'd be like, oh brother. But and now these two rednecks, one of them is Matt Frewer, who will later be in Matt's Headroom and Honey I Shrunk the Kids, among other stuff. And the line he says, like, she's asking, why do you do this? And he's like, it's just what we are, or just who we are. I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, did someone today go back in time and write this down? I don't know, I just didn't like this scene. Maybe because I just had PTSD flashes where it seems like a scene that would be in today's age that'd be very woke. So I just had this PTSD flashback. But it's 1984, I gotta remember that, so. It was also stupid where they see that she gives some heat vision, and the guy just goes, huh. So you want to play games? I'm like, the lady just shot heat lasers from her fucking eyes, and you're asking, does she want to play games? Yeah, checkers. And again, I don't know how she knows about Clark Kent and Superman. Like, she knows all these details. Again, about Clark, about Superman, about all that. How does she know all this shit? And then she goes to school, and this did not make any sense to me. First off, I get that, it's weird that you have, all of a sudden you have these Supergirl clothes. Where did they come from? How did they materialize? I get that. That, I mean, Superman the movie, they did that too, where every time Superman's flying, then all of a sudden, like, he jumps out the window, and all of a sudden, he goes from Clark Kent, all of a sudden he's Superman. I'm like, when did Superman get the power to just materialize clothes? I never liked that bit anyway. But you can maybe BS yourself and go, well, he just changed really quick. No, he didn't change really quick because he didn't even move a muscle. But he's faster than speed and bull, so maybe he did. But this is like, she materializes not just those clothes, But also a whole schoolgirl outfit clothes and changes the color of her fucking hair. I didn't know these folks had these powers. I know they got a lot of powers, but it's like, what other powers do you have? Like, you can make clothes you want and change the color of your hair. Granted, it makes it understandable when people go, is that Supergirl? Can't be, because they have completely different colored hair. I guess that's better than just glasses, but I mean, I know it's all about super stuff that's not real, but at the same time, play by the rules. Does anyone give a shit about the rules? As Walter would say in Big Lebowski. But actually the part that I said doesn't make any sense. She has like 2 or 3 days to find this damn thing. Why is she wasting her time going to an all-girls school college? People could go so she could look. You know how she could look faster? As Supergirl, going as fast as she can, flying around, looking around with her x-ray vision, trying to figure out what's going on at the speed of sound, speed of light, whatever, the speed of a bullet. That would be a lot faster for this dire circumstance, this dire mission that I need to find this thing because my mom and my dad and my whole race will die if I don't find this thing. Maybe I should not be wasting time having banter with Lois Lane's sister and messing with the bullies who are trying to stall the girls in the shower, or playing what game were they playing? Soccer? Well, I forgot what game they were playing outside. I mean, you're supposed to be looking for this device, and you have all these powers of flight and all this stuff, but you don't want to spend time playing these damn college girl games. And she doesn't even know that Omega Hedron is there. That's the thing. If she knew it was there, if she somehow knew it was there, well, if she knew it was there, again, super speed. School's closed. She doesn't even know it's there. She doesn't know where it is. So why is she here? Go look for it. But thankfully, she's lucky enough that she's able to sense it, and one of the teachers is Peter Cook, who happens to know the Faye Dunaway. But I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? It doesn't make any damn sense. I did like the actress that plays Lois Lane's sister. Granted, how convenient that her roommate just happens to be Lois Lane's sister. Again, how convenient is that? But I did like that actress. I thought that actress did a rather good job. She was spunky. She was not annoying. She had a bit of fire to her. She had some decent chemistry with Helen Slater. I'm trying to find her name. Sorry about that. Lucy Lane. Maureen Tiffy. Or Tiffy. Maureen Tiffy. She was in Grease 2. She was in the 1980 movie Fame. Didn't do a whole lot after this. She was in a bit part in Sunset as Stagecoach Lady. Disaster as Silo 7 TV movie. 2 movies called Star Time and Men Seeking Women. And so, oh, speaking of Max Headroom, she was on an episode of Max Headroom. She was a voice in Perversions of Science. Voice role of Chrome in 10 episodes. And she was in an episode of the Stacy Teach by Camera Private Eye show. So, yeah, she didn't do a whole lot. That's too bad. I thought she actually did a rather good job. But again, their banter is fine. I liked her seeing the Superman poster and nice nod to Christopher Reeve. That's respectful. doesn't crap on the characters, so that's nice. But again, when with all this stuff, like they're showering and the boys are trying to, I guess, stall the other ones, like you don't want to burn them. Sounds more like attempted murder, not a prank. But she stops them. I think that's only in the longer cut because I watched the cut that was over 2 hours. Just when the film came out, it got cut for theatrical in the U.S. and it was like an hour and 40 some. But I decided to watch the like over 2 hour cut, and it has scenes like that in it. Because I don't remember that being in the theatrical cut. And maybe that's why. Maybe it's for, well, it's to have a shorter running time. Because you have a shorter running time, then that means you have another showing or two. But also maybe because, like, why you waste your time with this? Your family and your friends and your whole race is in danger. Go find that damn Omegahedron. Omegatron, whatever it was called. And also what didn't work, not only were there stuff that didn't make sense, but the action was lacking and the love story was shit. Because there's this guy played by Hart Bochner, which, I mean, I liked him in Die Hard as Ellis. Hans, Bubby, I'm your white knight. He was miscast here. That, or he was directed very poorly. He just came off as very flat, very boring, wooden, lacked of chemistry between him and Helen Slater. Just did not work at all. Terrible, in my opinion. And it's like even the movie itself knew that it didn't have, like, compared to Superman the movie, and how Superman Lois very essential to that. Here, it's like even the movie knew, do we have a little bit of it, but we're not going to concentrate too much on it because even we know you guys don't have chemistry with each other. And it's mostly Hart Bochner, that's why. So it's just terrible. Those scenes just felt completely flat. And there's not much action. Now, you just say the same for Superman the movie. But, you know, at least you did, like, the big, sad spectacle of Krypton blowing up. And then you also get, once he, just a bit of a stronger story where you see him develop at different ages. So you get a little bit more of that emotional core. And then when the action happens, like the little montage of him catching crooks, among other stuff. It may not be an action-packed movie, but it could work. And then Superman 2, definitely more action than that. But now you also get into the 80s, and in the 80s is definitely, we're seeing much more action films where, granted it was before this, but after we would see Commando in 85, the year after this, Commando, Rambo 2, Code of Silence, American Ninja. You would see, later on in the 80s, Above the Law and Bloodsport. I'm not saying it has to be like that type of action, but we're getting a bit more into the spectacle, we're getting a bit more into the action, we're getting a bit more into special effects. So I think, in a weird way, the audience is demanding a bit more when it comes to that, and this, I don't think, accomplished that. And when when there is action, it's like, oh, here's this very, very slow moving construction vehicle that's tearing its way through town. Oh my god, watch out, it's almost at 10 miles per hour. It's just how slow that thing went, where it's like, and then like swallows up Hart Bochner, and Lucy Lane's trying to stop it, but then she gets knocked out. But it's going like, it's almost at 10 miles per hour. It's getting there. I'm like, is this the big spectacle? Or, I mean, is this the thing that Supergirl has to stop? I mean, Superman would just sneeze and stop this. There's also where you get a technical gaffe where if you watch it again, she rips off the front of it. When she lands to place it with Hart Bochner's in it, you just see the wires. So I mean, when she's in the woods and she's pulling, you do easily see the wires that they used. So I mean, that that took me a bit out of the movie. And I said the two of them do not have much chemistry with each other. The closest of an action scene this went that was kind of interesting was the idea of the invisible creature. But I wish that was a bit of a longer scene. Because you see the destruction happening, but you can't see it. You see her being grabbed and thrown about. And then she gets this, I don't know how this works. Like, she did something with lightning, comes back, and then is like shooting lightning at it. I'm not exactly sure how that works. But regardless, I did like that you see a little bit of the outer skirts of the creature, and I don't like the idea of fighting an invisible creature, although some would say, yeah, it's invisible to save on the budget. I mean, it's so cheap even the monsters didn't want to appear in the movie. See, on the one end, it's like, oh god, you don't even get to see the monster, what the hell? But I don't know, just the idea of an invisible creature didn't bother me too much, especially again when you see sort of, when it gets hit, you see the silhouette of it. Then you realize just how big it is and what shape it is. Maybe if there was other stuff in it, some people would have been more willing to be fun. Like, I didn't. I just wish the scene was a bit longer. But if I have to say, like, my favorite action scene, I guess I would say that. Or you do, like, these weird action scenes. Like, I don't even call it action, but, like, this weird amusement park where there's these football go-kart things. I don't know what you call them. It's like these footballers, or like the 49ers and stuff, chasing after Hart Bochner because of Faye Dunaway's witch powers. I mean, yeah, this is very weird. Just these footballs throwing after him. So one thing leads to another. Faye Dunaway casts her into the Phantom Zone. Now, granted, part of me is a bit weirded out that you see it because when we think of the Phantom Zone, we think of that piece of glass that the three Kryptonians are in, and the beginning of Superman the movie, and then Superman 2. I'm like, if they're stuck in this pane of glass, but you think that's the Phantom Zone. But no, apparently there's actually a lot more to the Phantom Zone, which is... But obviously, overall, it's okay. At least it made it seem a bit different to have the Phantom Zone in there. And that's where she meets Peter O'Toole, who lives drunk off his ass. I guess that's the point. That's why he has this thing. It is a bit weird that he keeps telling her, squirt, 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 squirt. I'm like, you know what, dude? Let me tell you something. Hold the phone. Listen, buddy, that's her own personal affairs if she's a squirter or not. You don't have permission to ask that unless she made a couple of videos you can watch. But no, then it's like, oh, he's talking about a different squirt. And not the soda either. But it just felt weird. It's like, he's so drunk, he's like, squirt, 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 squirt. And then he wants to do it again. I'm like, do you want to squirt with your own dick? Is that what you think? Like, calm down, buddy. I know you're drunk, but... I'll tell one that he sounded realistically drunk. Probably because he was. So pretty much he leaves her and he helps her out. Now, granted, he could continue to help her. But he kind of helps her and then he just gives up. I know it's supposed to be something of he feels this is his fault. But at the same time, then take retribution. Go up there and try to fix things. Instead, or maybe it's supposed to be he gave in to his demons, he gave in to his self pity, or whatever the case. He gave in to something, and then he just gave up. It's kind of like Kevin Costner in Man of Steel. Talk that hand, Clark. Yeah, maybe this is Peter O'Toole's version of that way before it happened. Talk to my squad, Helen Slater. Goodbye. And then when Supergirl gets out of it and is back, just oh yeah, by this point I forget. Faye Dunaway has more powers. She created this mountain and this castle. Oh, and Jimmy Olsen is there. Marc McClure, the only person to come back from the previous Superman films. Now, why Faye Dunaway wants Jimmy Olsen, I don't know. I get why she wants Lucy Lane, because she overhears Lucy Lane and goes, ah, someone's missing. And then Supergirl, pretty convenient. Sees them just in case. But she's the one who said something. Like, Jimmy Olsen didn't do anything. But it's like, hey, we need Jimmy Olsen because it's Jimmy Olsen. And Marc McClure doesn't really have much to do in this. But hopefully it was a good paycheck. But yeah, when Supergirl gets back, I don't mind this creature. It kind of reminds me of the creature in Crawl, the 1983 fantasy film. But when it's trying to stretch her out, it's like, okay, it wants to be like you take kind of like Laffy Taffy, you want to stretch it. But the way they make her look, it's like they just took like an image and they're like distorting the image. It looks really fucking bad. It looks really stupid. It does not look good at all. I'm like, then just don't stretch her. Just have her, like, it's crushing. And then, like, she gets more and more closer and more like this and more this. And she's trying to push back and then, like, close. And she push back again. But then the thing's, like, trying to crush in his hand. And then she hears it and opens her eyes. And then does a, like Hercules or something like, yeah. Just do that. Granted, you're also thinking if you're being stretched, why don't you try to use your heat vision? You know, your heat vision that she showed earlier? But she doesn't. I don't know. And then pretty much she kind of just goes into a tornado thing. Takes care of Faye Dunaway, the creature, and her Brenda Vaccaro. Things are fine. Says goodbye. Gets to Omegahedron. Goes home. The end. So yeah, the review's a lot longer than I thought it would be, but Supergirl, it does have charm to it in the flying sequences and the way the film looks, the 80s aesthetic. Well, I mean, it's stupid. It being an 80s film, I'm a sucker for those old school movies. The music and Helen Slater are top notch. Faye Dunaway, I think, is fun. I think she's doing what she was supposed to do in this type of movie. But the love story sucks. Hart Bochner sucks. The action is fleeting and somewhat quite a bit lacking. Parts of the story does not make sense. Again, why go through all the trouble of this all-girls college when you're supposed to be on the lookout for this damn thing? It's only by luck and chance that you find it. And some of the effects, like her being stretched, just look really bad. Really goofy. So I don't think it's a good film, but I can have some fun with it. I have some fun with it. I still rather watch this than Wonder Woman. I know that pissed people off. I would still, even though I don't think it's that good, there was still enough charm, and I especially like Helen Slater. I'd rather watch her than Gal Gadot. We got to do a duty. It's definitely better than Wonder Woman 84. So, I would still put Supergirl above Wonder Woman. That's just me, though. But yeah, it has a lot of issues, a lot of problems. I could see why it did not do well. I could see why audiences rejected it. But I feel bad for Helen Slater. She did what she could. She did the best that she could. Her and Jerry Goldsmith. But I think it needed a couple more passes on the script. I'd rather take that $1 million you did for the opening titles and put it into maybe some of the action scenes. Just saying. Or let's rethink the idea. Don't, if you can't stretch her, don't do that. That looks stupid. Just try to crush her. Maybe use some of her other powers and rework the script. And you don't need a love story. Like the whole Hart Bochner stuff, you could have easily cut that out. You didn't need a love story. We just put it in there because Superman had a love story. So why not Supergirl? Well, don't have a love story and make it more unique. And it sucked anyway, so rather have it cut out. But anyway, it is what it is. That's my thoughts on Supergirl. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.